Welcome to the Arcade Show. Today we are working on the Simpsons. Mind if I get that camera on? There it is. From Konami. We're going to be putting the control panel together today, hopefully. We're going to start by cutting our acrylic sheet to go over the top to protect our overlay that we just put on. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this acrylic, this Lexan, not acrylic, well it's acrylic, but I'm going to cut this Lexan down to a more manageable size for our router, and that way we can have a, it'll just be easier to handle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now we got it cut down to a manageable piece of material here. There's a bad side that I cut, which is kind of caca, and then there's this side that was factory cut. So what I like to do is I like to line that up. So this top edge where it's got that dimple, and, like so. Then we're going to some measurements here. I bet you're around 14. That's the center. Okay, you notice that we did not trim the overlay. We're going to do that all in one step here. We're going to trim all this stuff in one step. So we're going to be securing this down with these like finishing screws, kind of like that. You can use whatever. Just something that you can't really cut your hands on. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small pilot hole. Just enough to get through the acrylic. We're going to pop in our first screw. We're going to double check our alignment. Make sure that this top edge is flush. I'm going to do another one. For good measure, I'm going to put a third one in. Got a nice, good flush edge. Okay. So now you're like, this doesn't look right, but don't worry. It's all going to turn out nice. So next thing we got to do is we got to get this thing prepped for the router. So what we're going to need to do is flip it over and drill some pilot holes for the router, for the button holes and the joystick holes and stuff. Kind of like we did with Soul Calibur. This is pretty much the same procedure that I did on Soul Calibur. Just with a control panel. You can actually use a wood cutter and a router and copy this control panel to another piece of wood in the same manner too. So what I'm going to do is, I'm totally not prepared for this. Flip this over. Now you have access to the bottom. Also going to double check the alignment again. We're going to get a drill bit for this. We're also going to, I'm also going to drill the holes for the bolts in the same process here. So usually kind of start with that. That done, you just take your slag out of there. Okay, and we're pretty much ready for the router. So let me get the router set up and I'll come right back. Alright, so we're going to use this router here, and we got this this bit right here that's for trimming material, but it has like a roller. Oops, sorry about that, you can't see that. It's a trimming bit. I don't remember what it's called anymore. Sorry, but it's got a little roller, and you just got to make sure that you adjust this, that this hits the wood, and we're only trimming the acrylic and not the wood itself. Like if you wanted to cut another panel, you could, adjust this thing way down and have this hit the jig, and then use this to cut the wood. But we don't want to cut wood. That's very bad right now. We just want to cut the acrylic and the overlay. So just give yourself a little bit, just enough to do the job. And they say you're supposed to go counterclockwise. I don't know. So what we'll do is we'll start with the edges, and then we'll do the holes, and this will be easy peasy. So hopefully. Once you're done trimming, put your router away. You can actually knock out these panels pretty quick. I mean, you should be able to do these in 20 minutes, start to finish. So, this stuff all cleaned off. If you have a route and stuff, you can keep an extra one of these control panels laying around and have it as a jig and cut replacements when they get broken. You can also use it to cut new wood if that gets broken somehow. So the next thing I'm going to do is go through and put the rest of the holes in for the screws. So we'll put that together, and then we're going to take it all back apart, and we'll start putting it together. I mean, we'll take the acrylic off, clean it, and then we'll reassemble the new controls, and should have a nice shiny new control panel with new joysticks and buttons in no time. So I'm going to come right back after I drill those holes and put that together, and we'll start cleaning this thing up. Alright, there you go. You can see that I've got all the screws in. And the reason you do this beforehand is because when you put these screws in, it's going to pull up wood and make a mess and stuff. So we want to clean all that stuff out before we put it back on clean. So we're going to have to take all this protective cover off. We want it nice and shiny. We want any little specks of dust in there. So this will only work with Lexan. You can't do this with regular acrylic. It has to be this more expensive Lexan brand. This stuff is not cheap, but it does save you a ton of time. You can't really use that router method on the cheap stuff because it'll crack and chip. So what I'll go ahead and do now is I'm going to take this plastic off. I'll undo everything I just did, clean it up, get ready to put the joysticks together and the buttons and stuff. So Another thing we're going to do is we're going to bevel this edge so it's not so sharp. There's a bit for the router, we can use that, or you can use a file if you don't have that bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing cleaned up and ready to assemble. And after I'm done doing that, I'll come right back. Okay, so I got the Lexan all cleaned off, and it takes a while to get all the little pieces of dust out of there. I used a static, there's a lot of static from this Lexan. I used a Swiffer duster for your house. Just get a clean one of those and kind of tracks some of the dust. I also went and I polished the bolts for the joysticks. And I'm going to start with, we're going to assemble this thing right now. And I'm going to start, I usually start with the buttons, and then the joysticks, and then if anything does get underneath there, it's easier to get it out. Instead of going, if you put these screws in, it just takes, you can kind of lift in there and blow out with an air gun. So if that's making any sense. So I'm going to put the red buttons in right away. And we're installing new buttons, just because this may go on the route, and yeah, it's not going to have the right controls anyway, so we might as well put all new ones in. So I'm putting the traditional HAP micro switch buttons in. Don't send me hate mail, please. Hopefully I don't screw up the colors. Tricky part of doing this is do it without getting any crap underneath there, ideally. For now, I'm just going to hand tighten them, because you can see this thing slides all over. So we got the red ones for there. I have to look at my picture, I don't remember. It's blue. Blue for Homer. Like I said, I'm just kind of hand tightening them. Green for port. Kind of the reason I'm replacing the buttons is because I want to make sure that these colors match the new joysticks. And I could have put the old ones back in, but oops. This way we know that we're going to have a closer match with the colors. Really, for this game, the micro switches are fine. I don't see the problem, but some people do. You got a game where you rapidly push the button like that, micro switches are better. And then finally, this yellow. My luck, I probably forgot to order some part. So you can see this kind of, there's some leeway here with the buttonholes, so we really don't want to tighten them down until we get the joysticks on. And we'll tighten everything down at once. And of course I drop a button nut. Go. The whole time you're going to kind of go along and wipe this off with a microfiber cloth just to make sure I'm not getting any schmag underneath there. So I'll put that somewhere safe here. Okay, so what do I do with my, oh boy, I am not prepared today. Alright, now we're going to start putting the bolts for the joysticks in, just because we're working our way out, and make sure we keep it clean. I've went already and polished the heads of these joystick bolts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start by putting all of the new joystick bases on. Maybe. And I already see a problem. Okay. I already forgot about something. These carriage bolts have a little bit of a thicker top piece here, and we're going to have to widen these holes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, we got the holes widened, and it's still a little tight, but I'd rather have it a little bit tight so that it has something to grip on. I'm going to go ahead and put some of these joysticks on, hopefully. And we're going to go one by one and reassemble this panel. I got the nuts all mixed up, so this is probably going to go crappy. But... So I'm going to go ahead and put all of these joystick bases on. And I'll probably cut back. Alright, there we go. We got all the joystick bases on. See? There we go. See that right there? And so now I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these buttons. Maybe. Get our button wrench, wherever that is. I kind of got a plan for which way the wires are going to go. That's why I'm kind of orientating the buttons in a certain direction, roughly. And I may have to change this depending upon our wiring. So. Uh-oh. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and throw these micro switches on there right away just so they don't get lost. Because we're going to put new micro switches on the buttons too. It's going to almost be like a new game, sort of. There'll be so much new stuff in here, it won't matter. Why they bag everything so goofy. There you go. Go ahead. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of these brackets on back. So we got it flipped over. These right here. All right. Now let's go ahead and put the joysticks together. says for a wood panel we need, these are just the traditional hap joysticks. It says for the wood panel we need to use the longer shaft. So go ahead and put this together and we'll be right back. There you go. We got all the screws back in and the joysticks on. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the T-molding on this, and then we'll put the hinge back on, and we'll be done with this portion. So after I do that, should be all set to go back onto the control panel box and start working on more parts of this game. Alright, there you go. Control panel's all finished. Put it back on the box, put it on the game. Also, in the meantime, I've done the coin doors with a refresh paint job and fixed up the button rejects and all that stuff, and yeah, it turned out pretty nice. I got the yellow T-molding on this. Haven't got it on the rest of the game yet, but probably going to do that next. And I know it doesn't have the original controls, but we'll take the parts from this one and save some more games in the future. Some customers prefer reliability over originality. So this one's being built to order with an LCD now, so the customer wants an LCD panel instead of an old CRT, once again for reliability. And I also have the new artwork up there for that. We're going to put LEDs up there too. Get rid of that fluorescent tube. So this thing's going to be pretty modern actually. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.